In a time where the original games are now seen as horrible messes thanks to a company that couldn't give a shit, we are now living in a timeline where the games that were released in a horrible state thanks to a company that couldn't give a shit be recommended instead. What a funny turn of events. DICE's Star Wars Battlefront II is a game that, despite all the odds put against them by both the gaming community and the heads at DICE and EA alike, somehow through update after update crawled itself out of the rubble and became one of the best Star Wars online shooters to have ever existed. The game had a team of passionate devs who all shared the same passion for the Star Wars IP and for their work. You combine talented devs and nerds and throw them a franchise they actually like, and you could get a moneymaker. And over the course of several years, they brought back the game to something worth playing, and when it was at its highest peak, it was all thrown away because EA wanted more money that quarterly earning to please investors. God, I love modern gaming. That was definitely such a one-off thing and will never be replicated ever again. Yeah, it's no surprise the game's cancellation was something no one really saw coming. Weeks before the cancellation, devs were already saying how excited they were to start work on making new content for the game based on the new media that was airing and had recently just been shown off, just to be scrapped within a month's time. All those years fixing the game when many have already written it off as a lost cause, only then to be forced to throw it away when people had saw the care that was put into it by the devs. And when the devs weren't being slapped in the face by their fans, they were also being slapped in the face by their higher ups, as not only were they forced to just stop support for the game instead of, just pausing development of any future content, but what was done in the past is now set in stone, with a long hard acknowledgement from people that it won't ever come back. But is it still worth it all these years later? Is there a point for you to buy this game right now? The short answer to that question is yes. Yes, of course it's still worth it. For the price of admission, you get all three things people love to see in a complete package. Single player.
The rebels still think we don't know about Sullust. They have no idea what's waiting for them at Endor.
Co-op. And multiplayer.
I should have told R2 to keep the ship powered up.
What more do you possibly want? Alright, let's just get on the same page and let's refresh your hero versus villain's brain-rotted memory. What is it that we have in the game? For starters, we have a full-fledged campaign about an Imperial
Buzz-looking alien! Where?
a rebel fighting the Empire from the Battle of Endor all the way to the Battle of Jakku, filled with planets and maps that were exclusive to the campaign, averaging around 6 hours in length. Listen, yeah, the story is nothing special here, right? It's just a character living through the events we've seen in other media already, while they meet the entire cast of the original trilogy. It's filled with pretty whatever characters, besides Shriv.
If I die here, I'm glad you will too.
Well, thank you, buddy.
God, I love this man. For what it is, it serves its purpose. And it's part of a game that for the most part you'll play once, wonder why most of the locations were never ported into multiplayer, and never touch it ever again. But the single player offerings doesn't stop there. Arcade allows you to play quick little blast-like skirmishes with AI, whether it's one of the 16 specific missions or the one the game allows you to create. It's still fun if you're looking for that quick little rush of excitement, whether it's on the ground or in space. The game doesn't end there, oh no, because we also get the classic instant action game mode, where you can pick any map in the game besides these and play Conquest to your heart's content, just like 2005. If you want to play online, but not necessarily against other people, you can start a match of co-op, where you and 3 other players go map to map on the offensive or defensive line in a linear sector to sector game mode. Co-op is pretty fun if I do say so myself, and I found myself playing this more than the actual game at some points. It's great XP farming if you want to get your star cards or heroes up, so there's that piece of advice: play this game mode on Wednesdays to really get your stuff up in rank. And finally, we get to the big thing that many only give a shit about: multiplayer, and I don't blame them. 4 classes, 9 game modes, 19 maps, 19 special units, 22 heroes, plus 12 hero starfighters, and 38 vehicles. What more do you want? Don't answer that. This is what people are primarily buying the game for all of this content, and this alone most modern games can't really get close to, which is funny because for a majority of the game's existence was just getting the same maps recycled in a different mode. But hey, what's the actual experience today? What are you getting yourself into if you spawn on Earth today and decided to get the game now? The following is recorded on a PlayStation 5, so it's using the PlayStation player base into account, which is funny enough the game's biggest player base on all 3 platforms. But don't worry, when this shit gets dusted off and I'm not playing Gears of War, I can confirm it's about the same experience as a PlayStation, just smaller by a bit. But of course, user experience may vary. The game is still alive and well with a nice community that plays the game daily. Throughout the week, I can get into matches of Supremacy and Galactic Assault with no issues at all times of the day. Of course, the weekends are going to be the time when the most activity is going to be seen. Hell, I was able to find games for Starfighter Assault during the weekends. I can still find matches for Supremacy where people willingly pick the other 2 options that is not Clone Wars related. Listen, I love Clone Troopers, don't get me wrong, but it gets really annoying and frustrating when a match doesn't start because people plop in, see they're not gonna be a Kiwi, and immediately leave. Like, why? We've all seen it happen. We all get annoyed by it. And yet, it just goes on as something the community is scared to admit. There's this big sense of community. A lot of the little clans and groups that spread up when Capital Supremacy was introduced are still here and just pad the servers, so yay, more players. It's really great to just play the game as, you know, a complete game, battling to get into Echo Base, flying through the Looker Hulk, and absolutely sweating your balls off in Heroes vs Villains. I'm glad that despite the game almost reaching the 10-year mark and continuously appear on PlayStation's most downloaded and bought games of the month list, there still lies a game that everyone loves and actively plays on. A game that I don't ever see dying off until they make a new one. Okay, let's talk about the Master Race. The PC experience is a bit of an up and down story. On average, the game is always hovering around 1,000 to 1,500 at any given day. But the overwhelming majority of players bought the game on Origin, as the game only just arrived to Steam back in June of 2021. So looking at Steam charts numbers alone is just looking at a fraction of the bigger picture. But the bigger picture is still a bit of a letdown. So I'm just gonna be upfront and say it's not as populated as you would like to hear it is. It's still a healthy player base, but it's not like when the game was still being updated, or comparable to that of the console player base. It's really just how it works out sometimes. Throughout the middle of the week, the only game mode you're going to find players in are Galactic Assault, Supremacy.
If you can just hold for a little longer, we'll have forced the Seppies back to the surface.
Hero vs Villains,
Finn's got Raging Raptor on the villains.
and Hero Showdown. Good luck trying to find people to play Starfighter Assault, or any Starfighter game mode for that matter. Good luck trying to play Strike, Extraction, or even Blast for that matter. People only really want to play the big game modes. While I say this is a problem throughout the week, it's not really a problem found on the weekends, as for the most part you can get into lobbies very fast during the weekend. If you want to play the other smaller game modes like Strike or Extraction, yeah, it's still going to be rare to find sadly, but the chances of finding a match is never zero. And the bigger game modes like Supremacy and Galactic Assault see the most players on the weekend.
I'm warning you. You don't want to make me angry.
So there's one tiny piece of information I may have omitted from this segment. The game is filled with hackers. Now, I may be over dramatizing the situation, but I think it's a disservice to you, the viewer, if I just omit this from the video. When I say the game is filled with hackers, I don't mean to say that you'll run into them every game, despite sometimes that being the literal case for most. With the game's already low player base that fluctuates on a day-to-day schedule, the likelihood of running into a cheater or a hacker is already higher than most games with a bigger player base, with days such as Mondays and Tuesdays for some reason bringing these specimens out of their caves to ruin everyone else's day. It's really annoying. Trying to record footage for the game throughout the week became borderline impossible at times, as it just put me off from the project as a whole. And it's not like this is a recent thing. Since the game was abandoned by EA and DICE, these guys have decided to just set up shop and have been doing this kind of things for years now. Of course, EA is not going to care and fix the title as it's not their priority, and we the players just have to deal with it. Which is why for the majority of the time when I do decide to boot up the game on PC, I'm usually just playing co-op or instant action, because I just don't want to deal with the mess that is online anymore. So moving forward, if you have plans of getting this game on PC, I wish this doesn't deter you away from the game. The game for a majority of your playtime will be fun. Multiplayer is still as action-packed as it was back then. Just pick your time to play the game wisely, to have a higher likelihood of avoiding these guys. Battlefront on the Steam Deck is a very interesting story. The game works, but it also doesn't work. One of the first games I played religiously on my Steam Deck when I first got it was Battlefront II. Being able to grind my characters in the comfort of my own bed in the middle of the night gave me feelings of playing Mario Kart on my DS back as a kid again, and everything worked just fine. But EA games are notorious on Steam Deck for being playable one day and after a system update having a 50-50 chance of it even opening. Luckily for me, I never had the horror of waking up one day to see that it was no longer playable, until something came along the way. In November of 2023, Valve would go on to release their Steam Deck OLED, a refresh to their system which included better battery life, more responsive buttons, increased space storage, and of course, its OLED display. But with that came another update to SteamOS that brought in new features that would help you truly use the new OLED model. But it also affected the base model as those features weren't exclusive to the new model. But with that OLED update to the SteamOS, it completely bricked Battlefront 2 for me. The game refuses to boot up at all for some reason. If I do manage to get in the game will completely crash my Steam Deck. But in the weird events that I do get into the game, it starts to overheat the Steam Deck immediately, even when I'm just idle in the main menu. And it overheats to the point my system will just shut off before it just dies on me. But let's say somehow I get past all of that, right? And I'm in the game. Well, I get a good 10 minutes of fun before the game just hard crashes my Steam Deck again. Why won't this shit just fucking work? It worked like wonders before. I had absolutely no problem with the system before they announced the OLED. After that, everything changed. And the worst part about this is that it's a person-to-person type of problem. The same solution that's found online won't work for everyone. The game doesn't hard crash everyone's Steam Deck. Having a fresh install of SteamOS won't guarantee fixing it for you. Changing Proton versions doesn't work for everyone. With the new wave of Steam Deck users thanks to the OLED model, it has now brought in a wave of people dismissing those who actually have these problems, simply because if it's fine for them, it must mean it's fine for everyone. So that's fun. Now clearly, this is just my experience with the Steam Deck. It used to work and now it doesn't. Installing Windows on your deck would have it working, but the average person isn't going to do that. So if you're picking up the Steam Deck with plans of playing Battlefront 2, then you better get the OLED model since it works like a charm. The way how a game stands the test of time is its replayability. A single player game will be looked differently compared to a multiplayer game. A single player's story and gameplay are what's going to determine its replayability. A multiplayer game's replayability is determined by its gameplay and its content, and once support for a game is concluded, then its replayability is really put to the test. Of course, constantly playing a game for long stretches of time will cause fatigue, especially when it's just the same content over and over again. But when a dedicated group of community members get access to the tools necessary to mod a game, the content that gets produced is at a level of polish that looks exactly what the official product would have looked like. If it wasn't obvious enough, the segment is about modding, a fun way to spice up games that have finished officially being supported by its developers. A fun thing that's sadly only available for PC players. There's absolutely no way to do this on consoles, so sorry, but if you want the game to feel fresh, you're going to have to upgrade. But spending thousands on a top-of-the-line PC isn't necessary. Thanks to the age of the game, a $500 gaming laptop is actually more than enough if you just want to experience this yourself. $500 is still a big number, especially for those who are younger, but it's worth saving up for. But anyways, Battlefront 2 modding was once a booming scene, filled with hundreds of new mods being uploaded a day. The reason why I say this in past tense is that the scene has calmed down a bit. Everything you could think of has been made already, and projects have now gotten bigger with stuff like Battlefront Plus and different mod packs. The great thing about mods is that depending on the mod, you can actually play online in official Battlefront 2 servers.
We have a direct line to the docks where the rebels are evacuating. Annihilate all enemies close by and advance.
These mods are client-side, meaning they only affect your end and not the server. New characters are simply just retextures of already existing characters, meaning it's not going to affect anyone else on the server. For example, this Darth Revan mod replaces Kylo Ren. On your end, you will see Darth Revan, but everyone else on the server will just be seeing Kylo Ren, and you won't be banned for it. Downloading different clone skins, different faction skins won't get you banned. So because of this, I love playing the base game modded, because holy hell, I've been playing this game since the deluxe edition's release. If I want to play the game, I play with mods. Simple mods like Battlefront II Remastered changes the skyboxes for each map and each time of day, trying to be more accurate to what these locations were seen like in their respective piece of media. And at times, I just think the changes look far better than the original. For example, Hoth at sunset is changed to Hoth at dusk.
The rebels are trying to capture Command Post Dorn.
More simple changes like the better UI mod is something you don't think is a big deal, but holy shit does it make playing the game feel fresh again. The no hologram mod is an OG mod that is still fantastic and applicable today. There's of course more mods like this Resistance mod which changes the outfits for the Resistance faction, the different legions for clone troopers, and much more. All okay to use in multiplayer without the fear of getting banned. But where mods really shine are when they introduce brand new things. No reskins of already existing characters, but brand new characters. Brand new experiences, a brand new way to play Battlefront 2.
Separatist leader is on the ground.
Modders have continued to carry the torch left by DICE by implementing new characters and specialists that are fully balanced to blend in the game. Heroes like Ahsoka, Rex, Starkiller, and Jango Fett are brand new heroes with their own unique abilities, star cards, skins, and gameplay loop. They are not simply a reskin of anyone found in the game, but like I said, a brand new character, a brand new edition. Then you have other mods like Battlefront Rework, which reworks the entire gameplay of Battlefront 2. Aerial troops are now diversified as each play differently from the last, from weapons, abilities, and of course the jetpack working differently in each faction. Ground troops get more star cards that affect the flow of battle, like the medical droid, which provides Bacta, a gonk droid which regenerates star cards much faster the closer you get to it, a flamethrower, which is just a flamethrower, and many more star cards which all offer brand new experiences, like being able to use a thermal imploder.
Grenade ready!
This mod also brings brand new weapons ranging from the Old Republic to the sequel trilogy of films.
The entire sector will soon...
Classic weapons seen from the original Battlefront games are also seen here, because of course they are. Each weapon has their own upgrades and unique handling that differ from anything found in the base game, and somehow everything feels balanced and nothing feels out of place. Nothing feels like a god gun or overpowered to use. Everything feels like it has its right to be in the game. The biggest breath of fresh air are the mods that allow you to play different factions on different planets. So you can play as the First Order against the Rebel Alliance on Mos Eisley, the Droid Army versus the Resistance on Yavin 4, and you can finally relive the Galactic Empire invading the cloning facilities on Kamino. Just like how God intended. The modding scene has in a way hit its peak for a while. The same types of mods being made, the same heroes with different abilities, but it's changing very slowly. While the code has not been fully cracked, there has been attempts to introduce new maps into the game. Maps like Megiddo, Coruscant, Mimban, Umbara, and much more have been attempted. But unlike the mods bringing in characters, the scene for creating new maps died as quickly as it arrived. Sadly, there's just no interest at the moment to creating new maps for the game. Sure, there's still people in the middle of creating new experiences, like right now there's a group of modders trying to bring the classic Battlefront 2 maps like Coruscant into the game, and trust me, there's a lot of potential in the scene. Maps like the Felucia Marshlands and Argonne Outpost take the original Supremacy maps for both Camino and Felucia and turn them into brand new fresh experiences. And since it's just all reusing assets in a new way, these maps could pass as part of an official update if Battlefront 2 was still being supported. What I've showed today can of course be enjoyed in online and in instant action, but I will admit all the cooler shit is found in the offline game modes, as doing so won't run the risk of getting your account banned. But there is a way to get to play all of this with other players, a way to play this with friends and the greater community alike, and it's all thanks to Kyber servers. What this dedicated team of modders have done is give the Battlefront community what DICE never gave us: private matches. Thanks to Kyber, we can now join servers running with the exact same mod list with up to 64 players on each side, giving us the true taste of the game in an alternate universe where it never was cut short. Modding the game may be a big task for most people, but trust me, it's not. You just need to download the Frosty Mod Manager from their Discord and head over to Nexus Mods, make an account, and download the mod you want. Put it into the mod manager, make sure it's multiplayer safe, and launch the game. That's it. And while yes, the system was way more complicated before, it's never been easier than ever right now. And it's about to get easier. So there's one tiny detail I may have left out from this Kyber section. It doesn't exist anymore. With the first iteration of Kyber servers came a lot of problems for people that were usually from the user side. Sure, there were stability problems here and there, but the big daunting task for a lot of people was the process of modding. Downloading all the extras to make it work on top of already having to mod the game itself, and then on top of that, making sure your mod list is exactly the way the server has it posted, otherwise you couldn't get in, is a confusing process for people who just want that simple open up the game and start playing type of experience. And the worst part about it was that typically a lot of servers had a lot of mods that majority of them went unused because of the era those mods relied on were never played. It was just there being wasted space. So combine all of that with the general interest beginning to dwindle away and gamers who couldn't be bothered to read how things work, the number of active servers started to dwindle away to the point you see here. But the amazing people at Kyber decided to clean up shop and make the user experience 100 times better. They announced Kyber V2. The big difference here is that Kyber V2 does not rely on having any of this downloaded. Kyber 1 relied on you manually downloading the mods, putting them into Frosty Mod Manager, going onto this website, downloading their application that would run in the background to help connect to the host, and then you'd get into the server. And it being based off private matches, servers would be in the mercy of the host's internet connection. But now with Kyber V2, that would all change. Now you don't need to do any of that. The new Kyber launcher will have automatic mod installation and Nexus mod integration, meaning you no longer need to have the Frosty Mod Manager or go to their website to join and leave servers. With Kyber V2, all you need to do is download and open the Kyber launcher, pick a server, and the rest is done for you. It will automatically download all the correct mods, and once it's done, you'll get a prompt to join the server. You can go and host your own servers, or join any of the planned 24/7 dedicated servers. Kyber V2 is also giving you a lot more control. Hosting your own service lets you control the map rotation, the game mode rotation, and for the first time in the second game's history, you'd be able to track your stats, and not just for the Kyber servers, but for your actual Battlefront 2 account. So if you've been playing the game since launch on PC, or for any substantial amount of time, you'll finally be able to see your stats. But the best part about this is that the team at Kyber is giving us the ability to turn on proximity chat.
Yeah, y'all niggas ass hell, boy. Shut your bitch ass up, nigga!
Yes, I am being serious.
Stop! Don't kill me!
With all the new innovations, it means that a lot more people are going to be able to play with all these mods. People on Steam Deck will be able to play with these mods. It's going to be really awesome whenever they decide to release it. Yeah, the development for this got pushed back because of different game releases for the modders, but the project is still on track, and right now you can still join their official Discord to join in their first playtest of Kyber V2. When is that playtest going to go live? I do not know. It's been a while since they mentioned it. The age of a game never dictates its death. Sometimes it can be because the game itself is timeless and no matter what's out there, people will still flock over to that game to play. But in other cases, a game continues to breathe in air because there's no alternatives providing the similar experience. Sure, the game may be close to reaching that 10-year mark very soon, but there's nothing currently out there that can offer players the same action-packed experience found in Battlefront 2 in the Star Wars universe. The reason why there's no one playing Battlefront 2015 is because Battlefront 2 exists, and the reason why people are playing Battlefront 2 is because there's no Battlefront 3. The only way I see this game going the same way as Battlefront 2015 is when they decide to release a Battlefront 3 or Battlefront for the third time. So right now, if you're planning on getting the game, I think it's still very safe to get the game right now. If the single player offering isn't going to do it for you, then it will be good for you to know that the multiplayer is still heavily active today, both on console and on PC. Whenever you hear people say that the game is dead on either console, just know that a lot of this is just a whole lot of hoopla. The game is not going anywhere anytime soon. It's the only game in the market right now that provides a very specific theme to gamers, a Star Wars shooter for Star Wars fans, and it's still gonna offer that until the day a new one comes out. On consoles, it will be carried by its larger player base, and on PC, it will be carried by the promising fan-created content that brings in fresh air into a dying corpse. So as my vision for this video is now complete, I hope I've helped you make a educated purchase, but if you still need more convincing,
I had 2 bullets in
God, I can't wait for proximity chat in Ewok Hunt.